Hello friends, I'm Dan Hilson bringing you another episode of Agent-Owned Brokerage. If you want to know about eXp Realty and pro tips for growing your real estate business, then hit the subscribe button and tap the bell so you get notified each time I upload a new video. My name's Dan Hilsman and I'm a real estate broker. I've been on calls almost daily since 2018 helping real estate brokers, team leads, and agents wanting to grow their real estate businesses and wanting to ask me questions about eXp Realty. And you can get on a call with me too. I love helping real estate agents, so if you want to talk, give me a call, send me a text, an email, or skip all that and go straight to the front of the line by scheduling a Zoom call using the calendar link in the description below. I have helped hundreds of agents to get accurate answers to their eXp questions, and I'm happy to help you too. How to get 2+ listings a month added to your pipeline with irresistible cash offers. So today's video is part 2 of 2 of how to do just that. And there's 9 steps to this video, and I'll be sharing the 9 steps with you now. So this is more of the process part of the video. If you missed the first video, you may want to go back and look at the part 1 of 2 video on how to get 2+ listings a month added to your pipeline. But today, it's all about step number 2. So here we go. Number 1 is the 2-page submission form. And this is just basic information that we fill out for the cash buyers and for the hedge funds. So we're doing this by making irresistible offers. We're backing those offers up with already in place hedge fund contacts and cash buyer contacts, mostly a hedge fund. So step 2 is on the submittal form. Is what we're doing is we're turning in a few basic photos. So we only have to turn in a few, but I like to turn in enough, which is about 10, which is far less than a traditional listing, but it's enough to help the buyer to give me the best offer that I can for my seller. I represent the seller, so I want to get the buyer good information to get the highest offer that I can. So that was step number 2. Step number 3 is, remember, this is a super simple process. So step number 3 is we send in 3 comparables. Now they're going to sit there and they don't do appraisals, so they're going to sit there and they're going to do their desk review, do their due diligence on the price. But we like to go ahead and send them in just 3 comparables. It's not a full-blown CMA, just 3 comparables that best fit that property to help me to get the best offer I can for the seller. Step number 4, our agents, we turn the offer in to our submission people. So if you turned an offer into us, then you're turning it into the people that we use, our contract close type person, and they get the offer in for you. So there again, you don't have to do all that work. You just complete the form, do the photos, get the comps, then you submit the form to us. What happens on step 5 is we get a verbal offer back from our cash buyers. So once the form's in, the comps and the photos, usually about 24 to 48 business hours, then we get a verbal offer back from the seller. Now the reason it's verbal is they don't fill out purchase sales agreements until the seller agrees to their verbal offer. So that's actually good news for us too, good news for them. They're not doing a bunch of wasted work. We're not going over contracts that were with a seller that may not want to sell at that price. So they review all the information and then they come back and say, okay, great, so appreciate what you turned in. Here's the cash offer. Now, right now, they're making really strong cash offers. So we're not talking about lowball cash offers here. They're usually at market, sometimes above, sometimes a good bit above, which makes it really easy and a big benefit for the seller. Now maybe you're asking how and why they would do that. So that's what I did. The first time I did one of these deals, I was telling the buyer, the representative for the hedge fund, I said, why would they do this? They're not going to really give me list price with no closing costs, no repairs, no appraisal. I just didn't believe it until we actually got through closing. But after a while, they said, all right, here's what's going on, Dan. We're going to come in and we're going to put in new paint, carpet, and granite. And that's why we're not going to ask for a lot of repairs. That's why the house doesn't have to be clean. And they have their own contractors that come in and do a lot of that work. So they make that part real easy for the seller as well. So that's how I got over the hump on my first few deals and thinking that it was too good to be true. Probably wasn't going to happen. And sooner or later, I even said to the lady the first time, what are y'all going to do? Come in and do an inspection and then beat me up on the inspection and ask for a reduction and a bunch of stuff to be fixed. And that's when she fully explained the process to me. So if you want more information on that, we'll go over the next 5 steps, but you can reach out to me, with my contact information below if you have more questions about those 5 steps or the next 5. So don't hesitate, reach out to me and I'll help you understand the process. be glad to get on a car or schedule a Zoom call with me. Step number 6, the seller accepts the verbal offer. So once everything's turned in and the information's reviewed, and then the hedge fund gets back to us and says, okay, here's the offer, then we have that verbally from the hedge fund. We call the seller up and say, good news, or here's the news. And at this point, we know if we discuss with the seller, because we represent the sellers, here's the offer. Here's all the benefits of this offer. Do we want to move forward with this offer? A lot of times it's kind of a no-brainer, and they do. But if not, look, we're also picking up a lot of traditional listings with this. Sometimes, in full disclosure, sometimes they come back and say we're not going to buy the property for whatever reason. We had one not too terribly long ago. It was a little bit too close to a highway, right? I've heard a little bit too close to a power line. There's just different things that every now and then we don't get the initial offer approved. But the good news as agents is at that point we already have a relationship most of the time of some sort with the seller. So now we're working with the seller. We have their best interest. We're trying to get them, a high cash offer. But you know what? If it's marginal offer, or maybe the seller says, you know what? Why don't we pivot a little bit and see if we can just do a traditional listing and get me a little bit more money than that. So if that's the case, then that's great too. We're picking up listings because we're able to make these irresistible cash offers using the hedge fund and the cash buyers. We're also picking up traditional listings. So one of my mentors a long time ago, and I've said this on a video before, but he said, hey Dan, all we're trying to do is get you into a conversation. And then from there, we just need to have time on task and to develop the skills to be able to take that conversation to a client, to a closing. So that was it sounds pretty simple, but it's actually really big. So we use this system to get listings by mostly getting into the conversation. Or sometimes it may work for the buyer. When it does, it's great. But if not, also it's a great way to just pick up the traditional listings. So step number 7, here's the good news too as agents. At that point, if the seller agrees to the verbal offer and they actually pick their closing date, so that's pretty cool. It's up to 90 days out. So they pick their closing date, then we get back to the hedge fund, cash buyer, and we say, okay, we'll take that offer, and here's the closing date, and then they write up the purchase sales agreement because they represent the buyer. They have representatives in all 50 states. We can do this in multiple states, so that's not a problem there. Also, reach out to me and and I'll help you with to know if we're doing this in your area or not, and then also, the same system you can develop in your area without our contacts. Step number 8 is go binding, right? So at that point, once they agree on the date, the seller doesn't agree to the date, they don't care. The buyer doesn't agree to the date. They don't care. They're saying, hey, you can close anytime you want to within the next 90 days. So that's great for the seller too. So once we go binding, then the cash buyer does schedule a walkthrough. It's not a full-blown inspection most all the time. We even have one that does not. Hey, check that out. There's a deer crossing the road. I don't know if I got that. Just missed it. So anyway, on top of this mountain in this new subdivision. Where was I? So cash buyer walkthrough, right? So yeah, it's not a full-blown inspection. Most of the time we have one that has no due diligence, so they don't even care. They've already looked at all their information. They're going to take the property. They're going to do what they're going to do to the property, and generally they'll put it on a long-term rental market. And the reason for that is, like I said before, they come in and usually put new paint, carpet, and granite. That's why they're not worried about minor things, and also that's why they're not worried about the house being super clean. That's the 9 steps. Now I have 2 more points that I want to point out about why it's great for the seller and why it's also awesome and a good agent as well. So this system, as I said before, is great for the seller. Let me point out a few reasons why so you have a little bit better understanding. So the first one is really they have no showings, right? So that's to be able to come into a seller and let them know that you represent them and that we're going to see if we can get them a strong cash offer. And if this works out, then they don't have to clean their house and have any showings. So in our area, that's a big deal. What we're also looking for here is, there's no, right now, at the time of this video, there's a lot of multiple offer situations, so we're not having to sift and sort through all the offers to see which one's the best offer, and sometimes breaking other, buyers' hearts, even though we don't represent them. It's still, hard to do is let that young couple know maybe they didn't get another house. So we don't have to deal with any of that. The seller doesn't have to deal with any of that. And another big thing for the sellers is the flexible closing date. So, not to mention no repairs, no repairs, and the no appraisal. And with that closing date, that helps a lot of times, because if it's up to 90 days, it gives time to plan. It works great if that buyer is buying, if the seller is buying new construction, because sometimes they get pushed back a week or two or three. And generally speaking, the hedge funds, they're fine with that if they have to, because it's not an emotional purchase on their part. So it's also great for agents. And one is on the, for our agents, we have the appointments and the listing leads. We do that by marketing to our areas, and then we have an overflow. So our agents love it because they're not having to go in and do some of the listing leads to appointments. We just say, hey, this seller indicated they were interested in all cash offer. They raised their hand. Here's a great appointment. In Georgia, we have a much smaller form. There's a lot less work for the agent in Georgia, and it's my understanding in most other states as well. So we don't do the full-blown listing agreement, exclusive right to sell agreement. What we do is a right to show and sell form, and it's a much shorter form. It's about half the work. So number 3 on that step is about half the work to do. We don't have to do, we also don't schedule the showings. We don't sift and sort through the offers. We don't have to upload 40 to 60 photos. They don't go in, a lot of the paperwork is cut in half, and then we also have staff that does a lot of that. So the agents love it. About half the work, maybe sometimes a lot less than half the work of a traditional listing. And that's one reason I'm working in this area, and that's one reason that we've pivoted most of our business to this listing process with cash buyers and hedge fund buyers. And if you have any questions about the 9 steps that we just went over about how to add an additional 2+ listings a month to your pipeline, we have some agents that are doing multiple deals per week, but rather talk about what we can do initially with the agents to help them get at least 2+ listings per month added to their pipeline. So remember, I'm Dan Hilsman. I love talking to real estate agents. So if you want to talk, give me a call, a text, an email, or skip all that and schedule a Zoom call using the calendar link below. And like I like to do on my videos, I said I'm in Cobb County, Georgia, on top of a new construction neighborhood, and just a beautiful view looking away from Atlanta there, out there behind me. So hop on a call. Happy to help you any way I can. And go ahead and check out my next video. Be sure to check out my next video, why I stayed at eXp Realty so far, or should I stay or should I go? So that's my next video. Go ahead and click down below. You'll see that video, and hope to talk to you soon.